Hello everyone. Welcome to my very small YouTube channel about knitting. My name is Isabelle. I am in France. I have 3 sons and I have 3 cats. Some have said it's related. And I'm filming these videos in English because I miss my English very, very much. I used to live in the United States over 32 years ago, and I miss talking in English. So you are my excuse and opportunity to be talking in English about once a week for about an hour. And today it's going to be a special episode because it's episode 100 on my channel. Who could have thought I would film 100 episodes? And as it's a knitting adventure episode, it's the 50th also episode for my knitting adventures. I have other series on this channel that I have placed in different playlists. My project, my special project about not buying yarn online and not buying online patterns either, or at least not until I'm ready to cast them on. So that's in one playlist. I have another playlist about my woolly stories where I talk about the wool I knit with, and I have a couple episodes planned. I haven't had any time to record them. So these are going to be coming in the future, in the near future, I hope. And I have another series about my woolly news series, but that requires I stay a bit up to date to what happens in the knitting community. And the end of school year in the university is usually very busy, and I've been very busy. So I haven't had any time to gather things that are worth reporting and talking about. So I haven't filmed such an episode in quite a while now. So for the 100th episode, I suggested we do a Q&A, question and answers. So you've been asking answers in the comments of last week's video when I formally asked, and even the week before when I just talked about it. So I've gathered all those questions, and also some from Instagram. So today it's going to be a question and answer about my knitting adventures. Okay, from the questions I had, I could categorize some of them in the same kind of idea. Some were about my favorite knitwear designer or my favorite French knitwear designer. There were 4 questions about that, so I'm going to be answering them. Some about my cats, so I'll be talking about my cats. One was a long one about my process of picking a project to cast on, and I have things to say about that, so I'm going to also be talking about that. And another question was about how I am responding to people who ask me to knit for them. Yes, I have been asked to knit things for people, by people. And another question was, if we have enough time to get through all of these, what if money was not a concern, what would be a joyous knitting adventure? Where would I go? Country, yarn festival, etc., retreat, etc., etc. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 type of questions. We'll see if I have enough time to answer all of them. I hope I will be able to answer every question and I won't be rambling too much, because I have the tendency to be rambling a bit. So let's go first, right now, to the first question. So let's get the cats out of the way. So Wild Cottage Knitting asked about my cats, and Elizabeth Ryan, I guess Elizabeth, also asked about my cats. So I have 3 cats, And when I say I have 3 sons and 3 cats, some say it's related. My eldest son once told me, "You have replaced us with cats," when they left the house. And if I look at when these cats arrived into my life, it was, let's say, in the same year that one of my sons were leaving the house. So the oldest one is Peluche. Peluche is my lady cat. She is the Imperatrice. I'm not sure how you say emperor. The lady emperor, or yeah, she's a goddess. Let's say it that way. She's a goddess. She rules the house. So she was born in 2014, and we adopted her in 2015 from a shelter. And we did not have cats before. I had a dog, or I had a cat and a dog. The cat I gave to a friend of mine. Her parents wanted a cat to hunt mice, and he was a very good hunter. And I gave him to them. It was when I left for the United States. It was in 1988. I took my dog with me, but I left the cat. The cat is not with us any longer, and not with them either. And my dog died in 2001 when he was 18 years old. After that, until 2015, we did not have any animals in the house. First, because I had 3 young boys, and that was quite a lot of human lives to be taken care of. And also because my second son, when he was born, he had a lot of allergies on his skin, lung allergies, he has asthma and things like that. So no pets, no animals. When he turned, let's say, so it was in 15, so let's say he was 15 or 16 years old, we spent a week at my brother and sister-in-law, and if you've been here, you already know they are like brother and sister to me. And they had a baby cat. And for that week, Theo, my son, did not have any allergies. So I had been always saying, no pets, no pets. Theo can't stand it. And at some point, he touched the dog, and we went to the ER. Right away, he was all puffy and not breathing. So, and everybody was okay with that, no pets. But once we stayed for a week with my brother and sister-in-law, I had a bit of a pressure, a lot of a pressure. So that was also the year where my first son left the house to go to the university. He was in law school in Rennes. And we went to the shelter to see the cats. She was there. She was beautiful. She was all skinny and all scared. Let me tell you, that has changed. And so we brought her home. So she was neutered. We placed chips to identify the cats in France, I guess in many places too. So she was at home for a while, and so we kept her at home for about a month or two so that she gets used to the environment, and then after we let her out, and she was in and out the house. I wasn't supposed to get more cats. I was not supposed to get more cats. So I need to look at when that was. Yeah, so 2 years later, in 2017, I was in Paris for a week, and 2 of my sons, my 2 youngest sons, were at home. They were students, our high school students, and I got a phone call from Paulin, so he was 16 or 17, and he said, "Mom, why did a friend of my eldest son came home with a box and a baby cat in the box. And I said, I'm not sure. I do know why, because he had asked me, my son's friend, had asked me if I could take care of a baby cat he had found in the street, and he was all dirty and very sick. And I had said to him, yes, but not now. Come back on Friday night. I will be home. I'm in Paris for now. It was on a Tuesday. I'm in Paris for now. Just come back at the end of the week or this weekend. Ask your parents to take care of the cat in the meantime, and I'll take care of him. I'll bring him to the vet and everything. So he went right away to my house. And when I called him, he said, well, my parents didn't want to take care of the cat, so I brought it to your house. So Paulin was in just by himself that afternoon, end of the day. So there was a baby cat all sick at home for 3 or 4 days until I come back home with Peluche, whom we discovered she should have stayed an only cat. She doesn't like the other cats. So she was fighting a lot in the neighborhood. She was rolling the neighborhood the same way she rolls the house now. And that poor baby cat was all scared. He had to stay in Paulin's room. He arranged how he could. I said, okay, take the cat food, the dry cat food, and place it in water, and tomorrow go buy some baby cat food and we'll see what happens. So when I came back home, he was very, very, very sick, very scared. I took him to the vet, and the vet said, okay, we are going to give him shots against the most common diseases, the ones you or the cat has protection as shots for. It is not a guarantee it will treat him, and it might even kill him, because he was barely a month old. So I said, okay, let's take the chance. What can I do? I'm not going to have this cat at home and wait for him to die. So let's try it. So he gave him a shot. 1 month later, I came back with the baby cat, and he was not cured yet, but he was still alive. So the guy said, well, maybe a second shot will help, because like human babies, baby cats, their immune system is not mature enough. So he said maybe that second shot will help him, and hopefully, as he did not die, he's not cured, but he's feeling better. Hopefully the virus he has is the one that is in the shot, the same strain, and the shot will work. So once again, either it will kill him or it will cure him. So second shot, and a month after that, so that was 2 months after he arrived at home, he was cured. So I had in my mind, I had said to my sons, we'll find another home once he's healthy again. But for 2 months, this baby cat has slept with me at night, in my neck, every night. He was living at the head of my bed, in between the bed and the wall, because Peluche was very upset with him. So I had baby cat food inside, behind my bed, between the wall and the bed, and a very narrow passage so that Peluche could not go there. Water on the other side. A little box, I had taken one of the drawer out, a little box, a small box there. And he was kind of spending the day between my bed and the wall, because at the time I was a vice president of my university and I was very, very, very busy. And 2 of my sons were home, but they were students, so they were gone during the day. And he was kind of going out when someone was home, so that someone could push Peluche away so that he could be in the house. But after 2 months, this baby cat was sleeping with me, living between my bed and the wall. I could not give him away. So we had called him Onyx because he was all black with little, so I guess you call them the tuxedo cat. He has white paws and white on his chest and a bit on his nose. So I went to the vet and I said, okay, let's identify it. Let's chip him, and he's vaccinated now, and register it to me. I can't give him away. I can't. I just can't. I can't. I can give that cat away. My other cat cannot stand him. We'll see how it goes when he grows up. So that was, yes, in 2017. So he's 3 years, 4 years younger than Peluche. So that September, after we had decided to keep the cat, Theo left home and went for a year in Paris. And when Onyx grew up, he's a very shy cat. Very shy cat. You can't touch him unless he comes to you and wants to be touched, or he comes for cuddles with me, mostly only me. He comes to my laps when I need. Sometimes I can't take him in my arms. I can't. He's a very shy cat. He's afraid of everything, but he's a magnificent hunter. Peluche doesn't hunt. From time to time she does, but not much. He is a real hunter, and that's one of the drawbacks of the cats. When you come back home and he goes out and he comes right back in, and you have pieces of animals and blood everywhere. He is a hunter. And two of my neighbors do not like cats at all, but they love him because they have fireplaces and places for wood in their logs in their garden, and there were lots of mice there, and he's been hunting them, so they love him. They allow him in their garden, on their lawn, but not any other cat. Anyway, so Onyx came home when Theo left the house to go for 1 year in Paris. Well, the year after that, so in 2018, Paulin was 18 years old. He was leaving to go to his another university. So my second son, he's gonna graduate from his PhD in December. So he's in computer sciences and artificial intelligence and everything. And Paulin is a musician, so he's in musicology, and he left in 2018 to go in Rennes to the musicology school, because there is no university department of musicology in my university. And at the same time he left the house, one of my colleagues, we were having lunch, and she said, my cat, she had babies before we could have her fixed, and we already have 4 cats. My preferred one, I have given all the kittens away, but the one I prefer, I can't give him away, but my husband had said jokingly, it's him or me. He was joking, of course, but he was saying 4 cats is enough, no, not one more. And my colleague was crying, and she said, I can only give him to you. I could not resist. So Ramses came in our life in 2018, and he's been in our lives since then, the year Paulin left the house. And so he's a gentle cat. He loves people. He comes and gives you snuggles. He purrs very loudly. He sleeps with me almost every night, even when it's right now very warm. He comes and goes and comes and goes, but he comes to sleep with me. So during the winter time, the three of them sleep with me because they are cold. So I'm like that, with Peluche on one side, Ramses on the other side, and Onyx in my legs. I can't move their weight on the covers, and prevent me from moving. So I'm trying to move and flip from one side to the other side with all the cats blocking me. But during the summertime, they don't sleep with me, but Ramses comes every night. Every night he comes and he snuggles with me, comes right next to me, and he's very careful because he usually waits. I'm falling asleep. Sometimes I'm not yet. Usually I fall asleep right away, but sometimes it takes a little time. So I feel him jump on the bed, and he goes with his little paws and he checks where I am. And when he knows where I am, he makes himself comfortable and goes right next to me, touches me. And he's a sweet cat. I always call him my baby cat, even though now he's 6 years old. He's my baby cat. He's very afraid of the outside. He goes a bit outside, but I need to be home when I let him out because he comes back after 5 or 10 minutes, completely freaked out. And he paws and paws and paws on the window because, the outside is a big, big, scary place. And he almost never, he can spend several days without going outside. He doesn't ask. Sometimes he does, so I let him out when I'm home. And I know I will be there to open the door to him when he panics and wants to get back. Now Peluche, who is 9 years old, she goes out 10 minutes, half hour max, and she comes back. Onyx is the one who goes out almost all of the day. So I leave him out only when I know I'm in the house. For example, yesterday I spent a day in Paris, and all of them were in the house for the whole day because I wasn't there. So I'm not going to be elaborating because I've been rambling quite a bit about my cats, but twice, once with Peluche, once with Onyx. A neighbor tried to have them for themselves, giving them food and everything, and they would not come back home. So it was. First time I was, okay, don't do that. Please don't do that. This cat is mine. And he said, no, they don't come at home. When he opened the door, I saw my Peluche coming out of his house. So I said, yes, you are trying to take my cats from me. Don't do that. So he stopped with Peluche. He tried again with Onyx. Ramses not, because he's so afraid of going out. He just goes around the house and comes back in right away. And I'm very, very nervous now to leave my cats out when I'm not home. And for example, this morning, I was not going to the university early morning. So I was working from home for a couple hours before I had to go to the university. And so I left them out. Peluche came back right away. So when I say them, it's Peluche and Onyx. And when I was maybe half hour from the time I was going to be going out, I called Onyx, and he knows. He comes back, and he's in the house, and he's right there in the cat structure, and next to me. They are used to doing that, and I know my brother and my sister-in-law say, cats have to go out and everything, and yes, I know, but mine, I'm afraid of doing that with them, and there were some stories. So so these are my cats. They are keeping me busy. They are talking to me. Peluche is a very talkative cat. She talks a lot. Ramses, from time to time, he meows, but not to me. He meows in the house. Peluche meows to me and talks to me. And Onyx almost never meows. So, but he purrs a lot also when he comes and snuggles. So a lot of time to be talking about my cats. They are part of my life, and sometimes I'll place pictures. Sometimes you see them in the background or on the table, but most of the time when I record, they are quiet and they are sleeping somewhere. Half hour. I've been recording and talking about my cats for half hour. I'm not sure I will have where I could cut that, but I hope I did not bother you too much with my cats if you're not a pet person, because I could be talking about dogs the same way. So next question was either my favorite designer or my favorite French knitwear designer. And 4 of you asked that. BB Granger, Marguerite Follet. I'm very sorry, I'm butchering your names. Elizabeth Ryan once again. And there is also one, I did not get the name. Just let me... Yes, this is a question, I did not get the name. Let me stop here and I will check the name. So, okay, it was Catherine Berry, and she also had asked about my cats. So, I'm not quite sure how I'm going to be answering that, because it is very difficult for me to tell you there is one designer I prefer or there is one French designer I prefer. Because I like many people. I like many designers, mostly with subdued type of designs, either stitch work on the yoke, not bright color works, even though I have knit bright things. Most of my wardrobe is the way you see me here, blue, monochromatic blue. This one is gray blue. I have no print dress. I have one red dress. All the other ones are blue, any shade of blue, dark to bright. Some are green, some are neutral, beige neutral. I have no jackets that have prints on them. One of them has very small vertical stripes. One of them has a checkerboard, but most of them are blue. Any kind of shade of blue, once again. Do you know I like blue? Most of my shirts are either beige or blue. I'm trying not to buy any white shirts any longer, even though I do love a crisp white shirt, but they get dirty around the neck and I can't stand a dirty neck on a almost brand new shirt that I can't recycle because it's all brand new but it's dirty. I can't wear it at work and everything. So so I have a couple printed shirts. You've seen them, or bright one. I have a couple printed or bright shirts, but most of them are beige or blue. So when I knit, and I tend to prefer neutral things, but when I knit, I have been knitting some bright things to go with all my neutrals. That said, that doesn't answer the question about my preferred designer. As I don't know how to answer that, I'm gonna go through 2 lists of mine. One is my projects, the things I've knit. It's one parameter, as good or as bad as any other one. And the other one is my cue or want to make list. That are patterns I want to be knitting. So if I go to my projects, the ones I've knit, for a French designer that I can recommend because I've knit 2 of her patterns, is Marie-Amélie Designs. And I can even recommend it more because she stopped designing. That's a shame. And she made all of her patterns free, and you can download them on Ravelry. Some of them you can't because, for example, my Pulsen Z is from a book, and I have the book, and I knit from the book. And this pattern is on Ravelry, but there is no PDF file for it, so you can't get it. So my Pulsen Z, it's bright blue and yellow, so that's a bright one. But my Galant, so I need this one. I finished it early 2022, in April 2022, and I started it at the end of January 2022. And the other one is my Galant sweater that I knit in 2020, between April and July, more or less. And Galant is a very nice lace. There is a lace work at the front and the back, and at the front of the sweater the lace goes out, at the back it's straight, and you knit it inside out so that when you wear it, it's reverse stockinette on the outside, so you don't have to purl for most of the time. And if you have a look at all of her designs, they are very feminine but not girly, very feminine and not girly. I guess that's one thing that I like a lot in designs. It's when it's feminine, but I don't like hearts. And this kind of prints, I just do not. So it's not girly, it's feminine, but not girly. And so yeah, Marie-Amélie Design for a French designer, favorite French designer, and for a knitwear designer as a whole, also someone I've knit 2 patterns for, so I can vouch for her patterns. It's in Termstein. I've knit the Magic Dots, and it's the one I've been wearing today. So it's a small shawl, and I've knit the Cozy X that I will knit again because I've knit with my green mohair. And I made the size, it's a bit big, so it's a bit boxy, and it looks more like a sweatshirt than like a dressed up sweater. And I can wear it at home, of course, and it's warm and it's cozy and everything, but I'm not sure I can wear it at work. And I guess one of my rules when I pick a pattern or yarn and a pattern, I have to be able to wear it at work. Maybe the Pulsen Z, it would, as it's less formal, I wear it in less formal situations. But I want to be able to wear any of my knits at work. So I have a very plain wardrobe. This is why sometimes I need very colorful or color work things. But these are the 2 ones. I can't not mention going from my queue. I cannot leave out, because I have other patterns from Intermstein in my queue, and I have a few patterns also from Marie-Amélie that are still in my queue. I cannot not mention Espace Tricot. It's not necessarily on the more formal side of things, but all of the patterns are free, all of the patterns are very size inclusive, and you can find many things that you like. Olga Buraya Kefelian, I've knit one of the patterns. The pattern was very clear, and she has textured patterns with, I haven't got to them yet, but I'm so very interested into knitting some of these patterns. Stephen West, of course, I have several of his books, and I have a few of his patterns in my queue. Sari Nordland, I love what she does. Not all of it. I do not love ruffles. I don't love hearts and things like that. But I have several of her designs, the Couture, Celeste, and some of these ones, Poetria, that I want to be knitting. Natasha Hornsby, Moonstruck Knit, I have several of his shawls and sweaters in my queue, and I'm going to be finishing with Rachel Isley, and I have several of her patterns too. And I wanted to be casting on one of her patterns, and I'll get to that with another question. So if I look at my want to make bundle, I have 77 patterns in there that I have been accumulating since January so that I don't buy them. These are the ones I want to make, and I'm allowed to buy from this part if I want to cast on right away. And out of these 77 patterns, only 9 have either or color work or bright colors. So that's talking for my own tastes and what I like. And I would not like to be restraining myself or restraining you to only the designers I've talked about. And I will link everyone down below and all their Ravelry pages and Instagram if they do have them and everything. But yes, I like to be able to wear things at home and at work without being too much dressed up and prepped up when I'm at home. You know, I was at work like this morning with a Magic Dot shawl. Perfect. So yes, things I can wear both at home and at work that can be dressed up but not too preppy, not girly, but still feminine. So these are some suggestions for you if you are interested. So 30 minutes about my cats, 10 minutes about my favorite, or 12 minutes about my favorite knitwear designers. You see my priorities. Anyway, let's move to the next question, which was by Magda Prachu. Magda is commenting a lot. And by the way, I do thank everyone for commenting on the channel and giving thumbs up and everything, because that helps YouTube algorithm to pick up on this channel and present it to more people. So I guess that's what happened at some point, and a lot of you came a few weeks ago. More subscribers came to the channel, and I'm not into the numbers and the fame and everything. I'm not interested into that at all. But I guess if you come and stay, this means you are interested into what I'm doing, and maybe other people would be. Okay, so Magda, who's been commenting on a regular basis on my channel, as many of you, and I do know who you are, and I think of you and everything. So she had a very interesting question. Share your process of picking up a project to cast on. And she has quite an elaborated thinking about that question, because as you said, there are millions of patterns out there, but sometimes I have tried to find a suitable pattern for some yarn I had in stash and had very little success. Let me make that a bit bigger because I can't read everything. But I had very little success finding the right pattern. It is true, it is always best to start with a pattern you like and then get the yarn. But still sometimes you buy yarn in a hope it will inspire. I buy yarn in the hope it will inspire me to knit or crochet something, and I found a pattern that seems suitable and it still does not work out. So that's a very good point. So as I've grown older, I have also got more knitting, crocheting experience, and I can finally adapt things or go for something else altogether without regrets. But I would still love to have a smoother process. All I want to do is knit, but without the pain of searching for patterns for hours on end. Well, Magda, I love to spend hours looking for patterns. This is one of my daydreams. So not necessarily during the day, maybe during the night in my bed, or when I want a break or something. I love daydreaming about patterns and yarn and everything. That's one thing. Second, as you know, I have my Yarn No Buy Year project because I have a big stash. So I'm in the situation where I bought all of that yarn with a pattern in mind, but not necessarily the pattern I'm going to be casting on with that yarn when I'm ready. So I have yarn I want to match pattern with too. And you see, I also have a big queue and a big want to make list and a big library with patterns I like, I want to knit, and I need to match the yarn. So I'm both ways. I'm processing, and this process for me goes both ways. Either it starts with yarn, or it starts with a pattern. For me, it usually starts with a pattern. And so I said, okay, I want to make that one pattern. And do I have the yarn in my stash to be able to work with it? And I'm going to be giving you a very, very practical example, a very recent practical example. I wanted to be knitting Rachel's Isley's, let me find the right name, the Fine Line sweater. Fine Line is a white sweater. Not sure which gauge this is knitted at. 4mm needles, 22 stitches. Okay. My mother, a few months back, gave me a lot of cotton, and in particular this one, which is Fil d'Art Relief, which is cotton, 59% cotton, 41% viscose, so only plant-based. And I'm not sure, this one I have to take out, maybe I can do that. You can see this cotton is very irregular. You have places where it's very fine, and you have places where it's a lot bigger. So I thought it was going to be a fun knit. So I swatched, because I usually, when I say I don't swatch, I usually don't swatch because I usually knit several times the same yarn several times in a row, because either I have a big cone, or because I have several colors for the mohair, for example, or things like that. But when I do use a new yarn, I usually swatch. So you may have noticed, I'm trying not to show it too much to you, but I do not have any bandage any longer. The tip of my finger is feeling a bit better, and I forgot to put a bandage because I'm feeling a bit better. I guess the color, the bright to red color, is not there any longer, so you may not be able to see it. So I had this cotton, very irregular cotton, and I was thinking, yes, let's make the fine line. I swatched with several needle sizes. And if you have a look at the pattern, the sweater or the t-shirt looks quite sturdy to me. A bit stiffer, not stiffer, but it holds onto itself, I guess. I would say that. Structured, it's a bit structured. When I swatched with that cotton, I was very disappointed because it was all, you would say drapey, if you want to be nice. I would say it was all mellow, and I like used chewing gum, and very mellow, very drapey. Even if when I went down a lot of needle sizes, because this one is 98 meters for 50 grams and calls for 3 or 3.5 millimeter needles. So I even went down to 2.5 millimeter needles just to see. and the fabric was still very flowy, very drapey. And I thought it would not match that pattern. I was very disappointed. Yeah, I was very disappointed. So once I had that in mind and I had decided, no, I'm not going to be knitting with that cotton, and I had this very drapey fabric, I looked into my queue and I want to make. I did not look into my whole library. I looked into some books, yes, but not. Okay, so Ramses has just jumped on the table. Maybe he will come and say hello. Maybe. So I was looking into my queue and want to make list. So that's a smaller pool of patterns. So I guess one answer to that question is to have your favorites categorized so that you can go through your favorites or use Ravelry search terms through your favorites to be able to get patterns that match your criteria in front of you. And when I looked into my queue and my want to make list, and one of the favorite designer, maybe I forgot to talk about because I knew I was going to be talking about her right now, is Meret Butzberger. I've knit one or twice pieces from her, and I have her rainfall tee pattern in my queue. She had an offer a year or two ago, and I bought a couple of her patterns. And the rainfall tee is very flowy on her. And I had a look at all the projects that were made and some people with larger body size because she's very skinny. And I liked the look of the t-shirt on everybody. So any kind of body. So, that's another criteria for me to match pattern and yarn. Is my yarn going to be giving me the same look and feel that the pattern calls for? Because I rarely use the yarn that the pattern calls for. I rarely knit to gauge. I'm off gauge, either much smaller or much bigger, but I usually try to find patterns where there is an extended size range so that I can fiddle around with my own yarn. But what I try to go with is the same look and feel. And this, only have a couple round. I'm not going to be showing it to you. But this, my swatch was looking as the way the rainfall tee looks on Meret. And so I decided I was going to go with that pattern, which is really drapey with a beautiful front, a wider neck. I'm not too much into wider neck, but we'll see how this one goes. And short sleeve and a beautiful raglan. I usually exclude every drop sleeves because I think the top stitches get very elongated on the shoulders from the weight of the garment. So, and I don't like the way drop sleeves look, so I prefer raglans or satin or any kind, or yoke, any kind of shoulder constructions, but not drop sleeves. So I usually exclude that too. So a raglan with, it's just yarn overs where at the raglan increases, so you have holes there. I guess you can knit the pattern without the holes by choosing another way to increase. So I cast it on. So you see, my process is usually start with a pattern and try to match yarn from my stash. But it's not always. I usually go back and forth. Sometimes I've bought yarn thinking I want to make that one pattern, or because it will be looking the same, and I try to go with the same look and feel. Of course, if you look at my Cozy X and in terms styles samples, it's completely different. Yes, I also can do that. But I think I tried, but the mohair was quite a bit with a bit of a structure. It was not drapey. So was the pattern too. So I tried to match the drape of my samples or what I know of the yarn and the design. I have a lot of patterns in my library that I own, that I bought. 2 years ago or last year I bought a lot of patterns. So I have a lot to choose from. I have many books that I go through. Sometimes I go through my library, my favorites, and I use keywords. And I say, okay, I want to be using that yarn. So I use keywords that would match what I know of my yarn. And I try to find the pattern. And all in all, if you start something, and I've been starting, it happened to me already. All in all, if you start something that you end up not liking several rows or even half of the project, I would say, this is my point of view, rip it out. And once you know how the yarn is behaving, you will find a pattern that will match your knitting, because the drape and everything, it's all relative. Of course, a very flowy yarn like this cotton and viscose, it's always going to be very drapey, very mellow. It won't be structured. You can't knit a structured project with that yarn because it's going to be all mellow, and you will have a very different look. Maybe you can do that because you will like it, but I did not envision, and I had been knitting a big swatch with different needle sizes and everything. I could not envision the fine line sweater with that yarn. And all in all, in the end, it's always matching your swatch to what the project will be. And if you're happy with it, go for it. And if at some point you're not happy with your project, even if it's a bit further down the road, don't be afraid to rip out and start something else, because you will find something that you like. Because going through that process that could seem like a failure, it's not a failure. You gain knowledge about your yarn and your knitting and what you wanted. So at some point, you will find something that will cross your path or your attention, and you had been seeing that project or that pattern many times, and it never clicked, and one day it will click. So I usually start with a pattern, because I have many I can choose from in my own library, or my books, or my online library, or my digital library, or my books. I usually start with a pattern, but sometimes I start with the yarn. Okay, next is the question I had on Instagram. I just give them in the order they arrived. There is no rhyme or reason to that. So how do you respond to people asking to knit something for them, especially if they are not family or close friends? Once again, I'm going to give you an example. I had this friend, a lady. I thought she was a very good friend of mine, very close friend, and we were sharing very personal things. And when I picked up, because I started to be knitting again. I've been knitting since I was 5 or 6 years old, and until my eldest son was born, and I knit for him, and a bit less for my second son, and not at all for my third son. And after that, I kind of was not knitting. Maybe once or twice a year I would knit something, but I took knitting up again in 2018. And maybe sometime I had old books. Maybe sometimes one day I'll show you. I could retrieve not the sweater but the pattern I knit from. I was 14, 15, 16, something like that. I was thinking, a yoke color work, knit in pieces, because at the time you were not knitting in the round. I was quite good. Not with the good yarn, and already making all my calculations for a raglan sweater with a color work for all the pieces go together. That was quite difficult. But so when I picked up knitting again, it was in 2018, and I knew I had this friend way before, maybe 1987 when Theo was born. Or no, the 2000, because in between the two. So that was a 20-year-old friend. And when I picked up knitting again and she was seeing what I was doing, she said right out, please knit me a sweater. Not so she said please, but knit me a sweater or something. And I was shocked, because I would never ask that to anyone, even someone who was sewing or painting or whatever. I'm asking things to my mother, but it's to keep her hands occupied and her brain occupied. And I was quite shocked, because I told her, I have a full-time job. Knitting a sweater is a 3, 4, 5 months long process for me. It's not a problem, I can wait. Yeah, but it's very expensive. If you want mohair, as a sweater in mohair, you need at least maybe 7 or 8 balls. It's, between around 15 euros a ball. It's quite expensive. So she was a bit shocked about the price already. And I said, it's 50, 100 hours of work for me. I'm not sure, I have never calculated. But she said, yeah, but it's your pleasure. It's your free time. So what I told her, because I've read sometimes people say, oh, okay, I can teach you how to knit. I did not say that. I said, okay, for 100 hours of your free time, what are you going to give me for me to knit the sweater for you? 100 hours of your free times. For the next 3 months or 4 months, you will be doing things only for me. And you're going to be happy, because it's going to be your free time and it's going to be your pleasure. So in exchange for a sweater, I'm going to ask you 100 hours of your free time. So she was shocked when I told her that. And a few months after that, for some other stupid reason, she kind of broke up. So in the end, she was not really that much of a close friend, even though she was a 20-year-long friend. Yeah, so that's usually what I say when people ask me if I can knit something to them. First, I tell them how much it costs, and they usually do not realize that yarn is expensive, and I'm okay with paying for yarn, or I'm okay with that, but maybe not everyone. And I said, okay, what will you give me from your free time for the same amount of time, from your pleasure? What are you going to give me in exchange? And once we get into that, they are not ready to give me 100 hours of their free time. So this is usually what I say. And to go further down the road, I've knit things for other people, for my mother, for friends, for co-workers, for my kids, of course. And these knits were always things I picked. Of course, for my sons, I had asked them if they would prefer a hat or a scarf, or just the category. And I had several ideas already that I could pick from their answer. If they would prefer a hat, I had, a couple patterns in mind. If they would pick up a scarf, I had a couple patterns in mind too. So I had prepared before I asked them, and so that they can get the piece they want. But I choose the piece, I choose the yarn, and it was on my own timing. And I had told them, if I'm not finished by Christmas or by your birthday or something, I'm not finished, and I will finish it afterwards. So my youngest son has asked for a sweater. So we are in the friend and close friend and family. The way I knit a sweater, not a shawl or a scarf or a beanie, but a sweater, I try it on all the time, on myself. So I said to my son, yes, I'm okay to knit you a sweater, but I will have to use your precise measurements, and it will take time, because as you're not coming back home very often, and I'm not a knitwear designer, I'm not making clothes, I can't envision really how the sweater is going to be fitting unless it's on my own body, or maybe I can put it on your body. So it will take some time. So he was okay with that, and we have to work that out. But if other people ask me to do things out of the blue, I usually answer what I said earlier. And if I want to make knitwear for other people, it's usually my own decision in the first place. My co-workers, when I said, okay, I'm going to be knitting coats for you, they never asked. There were 5 of them, they never asked. All I asked from them, it was before the summertime, and I knew I was going to go to the Pyrenees and buy mohair. I just asked them color ranges. What do you like? So one wanted bright pink, one wanted white, whatever. So it was in their color range, and I need the same code for all of them. So I usually turn down people when they ask me to knit something, and it has to be my own decision first. Maybe it's really selfish, but as my supposed friend said, it's my own time, it's my pleasure. And I want to be having pleasure when I need something for someone. Okay, so last question, Sue Mercer, who's also been commenting a lot, and I'm not going to, I've said names I should not have, because they are all the ones of you. I'm not giving your names, but be sure I'm thanking you for being here and watching my videos and commenting on the videos. I love when you comment on the videos. So Sue asked, if there were no other consideration, e.g. financial, work, family, life, where would you go for a joyous knitting adventure? Country, yarn festival, retreat? Interrogation points. Well, I have that dream. I have that dream to be touring. So I could say France, I can say Europe, I can say the world, to go meet the people I'm knitting pieces with, who's made the yarn I'm using. It is my interest to be meeting people. So I would go either to the yarn stores or yarn companies, or to the yarn producers, the shepherds, the farmers, the mills. And I would go with a big van, a big car, so that I can get yarn, all the yarn I want, from these people, and meet them and talk with them and be with them. And as a matter of fact, I'll make a video about that further down the road too. Last Saturday, things cleared up. I had found someone on Instagram who is 2 hours away from me. So she has a farm, she has sheep, And I went, she was available on the Saturday, so I went with her. We spent the half of the day because I arrived at the end of the morning and I left at the end of the afternoon because I had a 2-hour drive. And we spent the whole day together. She was talking about her sheep, her project, her farm, how she produces yarn, who washes the yarn, which mills she uses, what was all of her experiences and everything, all of her own needs, and we talk about needs, and the little community she has around her, and that's what I like. Meeting people who's made either yarn that I would like to buy and I don't, or people I've bought yarn from and I've been knitting things and I love their yarn. So that's what I would like. I've already thought about that. I've already talked to my brother and sister-in-law. A few months back, they went in Wesson, so that's the further west in France mainland. West of Brittany, it's a small island, and it's the point that is most west of France. I think there is one other island that is even a bit more at the west, and there is one people living or family living there, but Wesson is the bigger, small island, but there is a village and there is a shepherd and sheep there and yarn produced from there. And but unfortunately, when they went there, the farmer was not on the island at the time, so she could not receive them and show them the yarn, and so they would take pictures and bring a few skeins for me. But that's what I like. Talk to the people who either own a mill or have a flock or raise goats or sheep or maybe whatever, alpaca, camels, whatever, and make yarn that I enjoy knitting with and tour the world. Let's go big, because there is no financial or work or whatever other concerns. There would be people to be taking care of my cats. Yeah. And I would go touring the world. So I would say if we go from the world to France, Australia, the United States, Canada, Europe, Northern Europe, France, of course. I'm not sure I've knit with yarn from South America, but I know there are. Africa, I'm not sure. I knit camel yarn, but it was not a good one. And Eastern Europe, and I know less of Asia, which is more on the silk, in my imagination, on the silk train than the yarn train, but I have no information. I could be completely wrong. So Asia, I'm not sure where, but of course Australia and New Zealand and France, Europe and France. And there are many places in France I could be doing this. And as a matter of fact, when I go on vacation this summer, I'm not sure I will be able to be doing this, because it's going to be, I was thinking, it's going to be just a small trip. The same way I was thinking last Saturday when I went, okay, it's 1 hour away. I put the GPS address after I had told her I'm coming. 2 hours. Okay. So, but that one I looked, there is a Filature Fonty, so it's a big mill. They produce yarn from other people, but also their own yarn, and they dye and everything in Fonty. And so it's going to be a 4-hour drive from my mother's and a 4-hour drive on the other side to go see my son in Toulouse. So I was thinking, maybe when I go in Toulouse from my mother's, I'm going to be a small small travel to go to Fonty. That's going to be 4 hours or 3 hours more than the normal way. I might do that because I would very much like to be seeing that. And the lady Frédéric I saw last Saturday, she said I should go to Feltin. Problem is I'm working, and Feltin's annual festival, yarn festival, is at the end of October, and it's usually quite a busy time of year for me. So maybe once I'm not working any longer, but touring France to start with, to go see Des Hommes Natura, to go in Paris, there are many beautiful yarn shops, to go everywhere in France where there are people who have farmers who produce yarn, or there are one place that washes yarn and 2 mills. So I guess I could go, these 3 places I could go. And talk to people, talk about their project, their work, and see people, because to me yarn, it's a human story. Okay, 1 hour 15, it's going to be a long one. I hope you're still here with me. Yes, you've inspired me enough to be recording 100 episodes. I could never have guessed that when I first started. And it's a lot of fun for me, and I do hope it's a lot of fun for you too. I think I will continue the experience and the adventure. I do enjoy placing the camera up and recording and talk about my own knitting adventures or my other projects. And I do hope you enjoy that too, and that brings you joy and happiness, because we do have to actively place joy and happiness into our lives. It's not going to be coming all by itself, especially in these times where darkness can surround us, and disease, and dark times, and dark political times, and dark stories, and we do need to find the little sparks of joy and happiness in our life that can be brightening up a day. And maybe it's one row. Maybe all our little stitches can spark light and joy and happiness into our lives, to be hosting them and building, this kind of feeling inside of us. So I thank you very much for being here with me. I'm sending all my little stitches, and maybe Ramses is going to be coming. Come. Yeah. No. I'm sending all my little stitches over to the world, to you. Maybe one day we'll meet. Some of you are not very far away from me, quite far away, but not that far away. So maybe one day we can meet. And that would be another pleasure, because I would very much like to be meeting you all in person. And yes, thank you very much for being here with me. And I will see you next time. If Ramses wants to come with me, no, maybe not, maybe he will. I will see you next time. So he accepted to come for a few seconds. So you're going to be seeing him, and he wants to go. He wants to go away.